Hey everyone, Matt Krieger to go through the February results. February, another good month. We were up 4% over last year. Year to date, we're still tracking. We had that strong January, so we're still tracking about 26% over where we were last year to date on average per location. Last year, what we saw, you can see here, we saw $494,000 in March. That was actually a pretty considerable bump from February. We saw a seasonal bump of about 31% last year, going from February into March. So I would expect probably not that exact same bump this year, but something similar to where we should see more activity in March, more revenue in March, and really that leading us into kind of the spring, late spring May number that we saw last year of that 638. So seasonally, that's kind of I think where things are headed to. Looking at appointments, just under what we did in January in terms of appointments. As a matter of fact, you can see 3 straight months of pretty much the same amount of appointments. The good news is that our completion percentage of appointments went up to 92%, meaning that we can bill more. That was our first month, really over the last 3 that we had gotten back above that 90%. The average appointment year to date sitting around $510. Last month was a little bit higher than that $536. So I think overall appointments in February were good news. Like I said, to see that 5% bump in appointment completion percentage, that really does help drive some of the revenue. Going down to proposals, I think there's some pretty fascinating things that we're seeing. First off, in February, we saw a 36% close rate, meaning that one in, or greater, I should say, than 1 of 3 proposals we put out, we were able to close. And that number will go up, because remember the proposals at the end of the month that we might win in March still have not come in yet. So I think that this win rate in February is going to kind of rival our highest win rate ever, which was that 41% that we saw last June. Overall, I just think it's interesting. Over the last 12 months, system-wide, we've won $3.5 million of revenue. One of the trends that we're seeing is this average days to accept. And so that's the days that it takes from when we give the proposal, or at least we put the proposal in the system, to when it's accepted. In February was 6, and we'll see that adjust a little bit based off kind of what happens at the end of February when we start looking at some of March's numbers. But nevertheless, over the last 4 months, we've averaged 13 days to acceptance, so just under 2 weeks. If I look at the 4-month period before that, it was a 22-day acceptance period. So we're getting acceptance a lot quicker on jobs. And if you dive into, well, why is that? The average accepted value of a proposal over the last 4 months has been $1,500. Compare that to the previous 4-month period that had the 22 days to close. It was just under $2,200. So slightly smaller proposals, smaller by about 25%, a little bit more. But we're also seeing that days to close dramatically come down. So just an interesting tidbit. I don't know if there's really anything actionable there, other than to say that we are seeing a lot higher of a success rate, a lot higher of a close rate with proposals in that $1,500 range than we were seeing at that $2,100 range. That's really all I have for February. Like I said, it was a relatively good month. We won about $150,000 worth of work. I think we're going to see a lot more of that come March, April, and May, because we saw large sales months last year during those periods. Specifically in May, we had a huge sales month. So excited to see that kind of go out. Our proposal volume last month went over $3 million for the first time since August of last year. So we're seeing more and more proposal volume as we continue to see proposals go out. So exciting month, and should lead to some good growth that we see down the road. Thanks for the time. I'll talk to you again next month.